Good evening. Welcome in to State of the Tigers here on PowerMizzou.com, YouTube podcast, however you might be listening or watching tonight. We welcome you in. Gabe DeArmond here, publisher of PowerMizzou.com. Jarod Hamilton going to join me in just a minute. We did basketball last night. Tonight we're doing football. Also want to pay a bill or two here before we get started and let you guys know that we are brought to you every single week, usually on Monday, but because of the basketball game, we moved it back. So tonight on Tuesday by James Carlton at Carlton Insurance in Webster Groves, Missouri. James is a State Farm agent. He's my insurance agent. Also, Drew King's insurance agent. He wants to be your insurance agent. Get in touch with him at carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800. Or facebook.com/Carlton Insurance. Tell James you heard about him here on Power Mizzou, and he's going to make a donation to the Name, Image, and Likeness Fund in your honor. We bring in the name, image, and likeness of Jarod Hamilton now to the show this evening. See, that I learned that in broadcast school. That's a professional transition right there. I'm going to talk a little Mizzou football tonight. Let's start big picture. We talked to Eli Drinkwitz today. We'll deal with kind of the Missouri stuff, Missouri specific stuff shortly. But 45 minutes ago, they put out the top 25, the initial college football playoff rankings. You were a bit surprised Missouri checked in at the bottom of those rankings.
I had the pre-write ready, of course, but to be honest, I was thinking, Missouri, I don't think they're going to be in there. And when it said Missouri number 24, I said, what? And I finished up. But, I mean, we've talked about this, off on the side before we started. Like, it's not like the craziest thing in the world, but how close these things match up to the AP and just knowing what we know about the team and kind of the struggles they've had and may have if Brady Cook isn't there. I was kind of just surprised from that standpoint.
I would not have been surprised if they were, left out, if they were, say, 26, 27. But also, I just there's a lot of teams that lose games. I mean, 22 is Louisville. They've lost 3 games. 23 is Clemson. They're about like Missouri. They haven't really done anything impressive. They got blown out by Georgia, got blown out by, I don't know, somebody blew them out over the weekend. I can't even remember who it was. Might have been Louisville. But, Kansas State is 19th. They haven't done anything special. Colorado's 20th. They're all right. I mean, there's just a bunch of teams out there with a bunch of losses. So I think it's about where it makes sense. And also, let's go ahead and get this out of the way now. Kyle says we shouldn't talk playoffs, but we made the rankings. And I've gotten 2 or 3 messages about okay, so there's a path. I guess if you want to create a path, there's a path, but man, it's real narrow. It's like the tightrope across the Grand Canyon path.
See, and I only know one guy who can do that. I don't know if you've seen those clips of that guy who walks across the Grand Canyon.
No, I can't watch him. It scares me too much. I hate heights. I can't watch stupid stuff like that.
Well, I don't know if Missouri could be that guy anyway in this case. So don't worry about it.
Well, and the thing is, because any path starts with 4-0 and probably 4-0 fairly impressively, and I think I don't really think any Missouri people think that's super likely right now.
Yeah, I mean, the first part, getting to the 4-0, I mean, that'd be something. And then doing something you haven't really been able to do all year, except against non-conference opponents that are not good non-conference opponents, probably unlikely.
And doing it with what we anticipate, at least for a week, is probably going to be your backup quarterback who, let's just nicely put it, struggled the last time we saw him, right? I mean, look at Eli Drinkwitz, didn't tip his hand at all today. Said Brady's working as hard as he can, blah, 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 blah. Didn't rule him out. I don't have much expectation that we see Brady Cook this weekend.
Yeah, Gabe, you've been around the block. You've seen this movie before. You know what you put out earlier, kind of what you expected the availability for the next few games to be. So probably not showing up at this week versus Oklahoma, even though he's probably going to be listed doubtful, questionable, or whatever. And then before kickoff, they'll change it to out most likely.
You think they will?
Well, what?
Not sure they'll ever change it. They might change it Saturday evening, but I'm not even
Well, I guess
because like you don't have to. It's not like the NFL where you only have a certain number of spots. Like you can dress as many dudes as you want. Like you could list them all as doubtful and just not place them. They could put Khalil Jacobs back to doubtful if they want to.
Drink, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that puts the whole roster on there. I don't want to write that article with the whole team on there. I mean, I guess you make a point, and maybe when he gets ready to play, that's him tipping his hand like last time, as far as like, okay, if he's got switched up at the last minute, then maybe he will play. And so maybe he doesn't do it this week. So people don't think so.
It'll be interesting. I mean, I respect that Drinkwitz just is honest about why he's doing it. He's like, hey, we're not going to give anybody an advantage by telling them what's happened. Jason Franken points out that the line did move 6 points today. Went from Missouri as a 4-point favorite to Oklahoma as like a 2.5-point favorite.
Oh, wow.
That tells me that the people who are doing those things kind of are thinking along the same lines I am. Like, we're not going to see Brady Cook this weekend.
Then probably not if the lines move. That's kind of a significant leap, actually, to like Jason said, switch teams and 6 points in just a couple of days. It's not even. It's Tuesday night. It's not even Thursday or Friday when you kind of get a little bit more clarity on these things. So
yeah, and so I think it's kind of pretty well accepted that's the situation. I wouldn't say I was surprised today, but I asked Drinkwitz what the plan is if Brady's out, and he just said Drew Pine. Like, I mean, it was just boom. And that, I don't know, it didn't surprise me. It surprised me a little bit that he was just so blunt about it, but it doesn't surprise me that that's the plan.
No, because I mean, what is he gonna tell people to prepare for JR Blood and like I get when he does that for a lot of things where he's trying to, kind of keep you on your toes, but sometimes he just I'll put it like this. Drew Pine played 6 of the last 7 drives at Alabama. The second to last drive went to JR Blood, who had a quick 3 and out, didn't throw any passes. He took Drew Pine out and then took JR and put JR Blood in and then took JR Blood out. He didn't even let him get the second, like the last possession of the game. That feels like it tells you everything you need to know. Like, not this backup, but definitely not this backup.
Well, and he is like, he's the only option. If you want to, like, because, and here's the thing. Yeah, Drew Pine was awful against Alabama. Like, he said it, everybody knows he was really bad. But that's the 16th game he's started and thrown at least 10 passes. And it's the only time he's thrown 3 interceptions. He had 2 once. Like, I'm not saying that Drew Pine is going to come in and lead Missouri to 40 points or be a great quarterback. But, like, he's not that bad. That was like absolute worst case scenario. And so that's what everybody's judging him on. Everybody's pretending that this kid is completely incapable of like possibly even scoring a point.
I mean, he did go, was it 10-2 or 9 or no 8-2?
He was like 8-2 at Notre Dame.
At Notre Dame. Didn't really get to play much at Arizona State, so I can't really tell you about that because I know it was like pretty quick. But I'm sure he's capable of doing something. But again, like we've been saying for weeks, even with Cook in the fold, they've got to do something. They've got to make some schematic changes offensively to get the ball downfield. Cater to what your quarterback can do now and what your offense has been doing well now instead of what you want it to be.
Well, and my thing is simply, again, like I don't expect Missouri to become some great offensive football team. They haven't been any good on offense all year. But the idea of, like, I think everybody's just pretending if Oklahoma kicks a field goal, this game's over because Missouri has no chance to score points. I mean, I understand what it looked like at Alabama, but he would not have gotten a Division I football scholarship if that's who he was every game. Like, this kid would not be playing anywhere.
All right. So, I think there's things Missouri can do to move the ball. They've got to really just be disciplined in what those things they're good at, and it's not going to work every time. They're going to be a lot. They're going to be more predictable than usual, running the ball, trying to get the ball out quick. But there's things they can do as long as they stay disciplined. Whenever they start getting greedy and thinking we got to have a jump play or we got to do this or that, that's usually when they start messing up. So there's a path to victory, and it's not like Oklahoma is great. This is not a really good Oklahoma team, to be honest.
Yeah, they're pretty good on defense. Jason brings up an interesting point. Says Mizzou needs 21 to win this week. What number wins this game? I don't care if it's for Missouri or Oklahoma. Just if you get to this number, you're winning on Saturday.
I was thinking about 17.
Yeah,
17 for
and
me.
probably to be safe, let's say 20, because like
Yeah,
something
yeah, like
weird can
17 's
happen,
yeah,
right?
but
It's something weird can happen. You turn the ball over deep in your own territory. You bust a punt return, whatever. But weird things can get you to 17 faster than you think. But yeah, I think if anybody scores 20, I think they feel pretty good about their chances this weekend, especially because it's supposed to rain and probably be kind of crappy on Saturday night.
yeah, that's so yeah, one team not playing with their starting quarterback, most likely. We don't know for sure, but most likely. The other team is what going to be in
The
the
other team doesn't have a starting quarterback, so
they've got they've they've got
they
a
got
guy
no starting
they've
quarterback.
got a guy they think will start, but they're what this is going to be their third game removed after firing their OC, so they're also in a bit of a conundrum. And when I was looking through like their key players, they've got Javante Barnes, the running back, who's coming off 200 yards versus Maine, but 200 yards is 200 yards. But after that, there's not really significant playmakers, and they're dealing with injuries at receiver.
Yeah. Look, it's going to be a defensive game. Jason says it's going to look like a 2023 Iowa game. The comp I've been using, and Jarod, you probably don't know much about this game because I don't know why anybody who wasn't at it would know anything about this game. In 2015, Missouri played Connecticut and won 9-6. It was maybe the worst football game I've ever seen in my life. Missouri was in the middle of a stretch of somewhere around 48 consecutive drives without an offensive touchdown, and Connecticut was Connecticut. So it was truly one of the worst football games I've ever seen. I think it was one of two Missouri games that year that ended 9-6 because I think they lost to Georgia 9-6 that year too.
Playing first off, why are we playing UConn? And why would you be wanting to play UConn in football?
Well, I mean, they played UMass this year, so why not?
Terrible, but I
Get,
hear you.
get
Nine
Georgetown and
six.
Providence on the schedule. Just go
Oh,
Big East.
that sounds disgusting.
But yeah, it was truly one of the worst football games I've ever seen. I mean, absolutely dreadful. So look, this is bad podcasting on my part. We're going to bounce back and forth a little bit, but like outside of Mizzou, did anything jump out to you about the playoff rankings? Like anything that caught your eye and thought, hey, either that's interesting or this is something I'd like to see, anything like that?
Um, I guess, and it's really because I haven't been paying attention to this team as much. I mean, I can really barely pay attention to other teams outside of Missouri anyway. But when I seen BYU be like they said they would be a top 4 seed, and they were actually like 9 or whatever. I didn't realize one. It feels like the Big 12 has like 37 teams. That's the first thing.
Right.
So
And
I was just
they just change every week.
yeah. So I was just thinking like at the top. The only BYU game I saw was when they were destroying Kansas State one
Mhm.
night. I seen that one, but I haven't really thought about it. So when I seen it, I was just like, oh, we're gonna get a BYU team in the playoff and Indiana. They just seemed like if you had said 12-team playoff just 3 months ago, nowhere close what I've thought either one of those teams. So I just thought it was interesting, but nothing that I can think of that was super crazy. But I was really locked into getting that article up, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, nothing really seemed out of the ordinary, but here's what jumped out to me that like this would be a fun game. I hope this game happens.
Mm,
Indiana at Tennessee would currently be if these rankings hold, that's one of the first round games. That's the 8-9 game.
yep.
That'd be a fun game to see in Knoxville, man.
It would be. I'm interested in seeing any. I haven't seen a lick of Indiana anything, not even a highlight.
So
Like I'm not sure.
I
Go ahead.
watched them play a little bit 2 weeks ago when they hosted game day against Washington. And like
Okay.
they had their backup quarterback, but they can put up points. Michigan State they had not trailed until they were behind Michigan State 10-0 last week. And then they
But
scored
then
47
they
straight
like,
points.
yeah, I was about to say, didn't they like eat them for lunch basically after that, and it wasn't
Yep.
really a contest? Okay.
Yep. Yep. So
Do
I
they,
mean,
do they
Indiana's
have
been
like
they've played nobody, but they've been dominant.
do they have like a a top pick or something, or is it just a really solid college team? It sounds
No,
like.
Curtis Rourke is their quarterback. He transferred from Ohio. Kurt Signetti, the James Madison coach, has done a hell of a job. Like I don't know that they have a first round pick on the team. I'm sure somebody can correct me if they do. But there's nobody that jumps out to me. They've played an easy schedule, but also they're a good football team. So I think that'd be a really fun game. I'd be interested to see it. I think again, Missouri fans are tangentially paying attention to this. It matters only if Missouri goes 4-0 and complete chaos happens. Like that's the only path that Missouri has to this thing. I don't think any of us view it as particularly likely. Again, we're talking about Drew Pine, quarterback. I don't. Drinkwitz didn't really say anything else today. Like they're playing Oklahoma, and his press conference was over in 9 minutes, and I don't blame him for that. Like there's just a bunch of people that show up that apparently just want to sit there and don't have anything to ask him. So it was over in 9 minutes.
Well, fair enough, but it's also it's just a weird thing because the thing we want to talk about, he shuts down at the end of his opening monologue. He's just like, I'm not going to give you any injury updates or whatever, which is kind of key to this game and the season. I'm not going to give you any injury updates. And then when we're talking about Oklahoma, obviously the hype for this game has died down over the last few weeks because Oklahoma stinks and now Missouri isn't looking so good and is banged up. So it's lost some of its luster, but you're not wrong with what you said.
Yeah, that was well, and I mean, think about what we thought about this game 3 months ago.
I mean,
Like
it's
this
still
was
the
the
biggest
one that
home game of the
every
season.
Missouri fan had circled on the calendar.
Yeah, it is. It's still the biggest home game by far of the season, but yeah, it's not doesn't mean I mean, it means something for the fans and it means something for Missouri trying to continue whatever playoff hopes they apparently have, but it doesn't mean something like how we thought of this could be a big win you can put in your pocket and say, "Well, this is what I did." This was supposed to be one of those 3 games. What was it? A&M, Alabama, in this game where it's just like you got to get one of them, and now this isn't counted in that. It's just you need a win to keep being alive.
Right. This is a game that, and like I heard on the playoff show, I think it was Greg McElroy was talking about Texas. Could have been Joey Galloway. I can't remember. But this is a game that at the beginning of the season you look at and say, "Hey, this could be a big game." Well, and like Texas beat Michigan when Michigan was like 10th in the country, and then they beat Oklahoma when Oklahoma was 18th. Well, both those teams suck. Those aren't good wins. They're just wins against teams you've heard of that were ranked because they had big names, and that's like I guess this would be a big win, but I think it would be a bigger win for fans than it actually is. Like I think this game means a lot more to Missouri fans than it means
It's
on the field.
it's a cultural win. It doesn't really do too much for this campaign, basically.
Right. Yeah, and Jason points out this game was circled by every Mizzou fan that's 30 and older, and I get it. I mean, look, I watched a lot of Oklahoma beatdowns of Missouri growing up. There was a 77-0 in there somewhere. Like there was a lot of games that were really ugly. And so I do get it from that perspective. But this almost, I don't know. I feel like the pressure in this game's on Missouri. Like, if you're not going to beat this Oklahoma team, when are you going to beat them?
Yeah, I put in I caught my column this morning just about the pressures and the sacks that Oklahoma's given up. Oklahoma's given up. I forgot the number of pressures. It was 90 something pressures. It was like 23 sacks or something like that. But they ranked. They're the fourth worst team in the SEC in pressures given up. They're the worst team in the nation in sacks per game allowed. So if Missouri can't get pressure on this unit, also they're bottom one of the. I think they're fifth from last in tackles for loss allowed. They give up like 8 per game. So if Missouri can't get in the backfield versus this team, and I know Missouri hasn't been great at getting pressure and stuff like that, but if they can't do it versus this team, they're not going to win. I think that's a really big key. Like you can't let a team that's not that good protecting the quarterback or really getting its run established to run all over you, do whatever it wants.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know. I don't know how big a win it would be again. But I think it would be big in that if you lose this game, I think any I think it's hard to sell this season as a success at the end because you're going to be a significant underdog. I think at South Carolina, especially if Brady's still out
Mm-hmm.
and injuries and all that. I get it, but I mean, if you lose this game and then you go get beat at South Carolina, you get to the end and you were 8-4 and going, yeah, but we beat Vandy.
Nah,
That's a tough sell to people, man.
it is. Like, how are you? So it's crazy. It's not even that they're losing all the big games we thought they could possibly win. It's that they got destroyed in all of them. And if you lose at home, like at least the other ones were on the road. You lose at home
Mhm.
to a team that's already reeling and had to fire its offensive coordinator. What are you going to say? Yeah, your biggest win can't be Vandy or Boston College. I don't know how Boston College is doing at this point in the season, but that
I don't either.
can't be your best win. It can't.
And it just feels like to me like this fan base is on the edge of just kind of giving up on this season, right? Like a lot of people, I think most people have said, yeah, the playoffs are out of the picture, but like people are still paying attention because this is Oklahoma. You can still win 9 or 10 games. Like people are still into it. I feel like if you lose this game, I feel like everybody just checks out.
Yeah. I mean, again,
I just,
it's got the most emotion and hype of it. Even compared to Alabama and Texas A&M, like I guess to start the season, there were people who were saying like if I could go to a game, I'd go to Oklahoma, and it wasn't crazy to hear someone say that. And so yeah, this is the last one, kind of like even if like fans were thinking, yeah, we may not make the playoff, but we can get this one. Like this can be our big game or whatever. Yeah, so if they lose that to this team that's not that great, that's kind of hanging on, you're right. People are going to go straight to basketball and go worry over.
well, they might already have given up on that, but yeah. But I mean, if you win this one, like I still think 9-3 is very much in play if you win on Saturday, because
Yeah,
I think you beat Mississippi State and Arkansas. They're not gimmies, but it's possible. But if you lose this on and 9-3 would 9 wins has still been done fewer than 10 times in Missouri history. So that still counts for something. But if you lose this one, like you said, it's your 3 biggest name games. You're probably more likely looking at 7-5 than you are 9-3 at that point, and
I was about to say that.
man, we came into this season talking about how much was riding on this season, how much momentum there was, all this new stadium project. They're about to raise ticket prices, all this stuff. It feels like this is really big for not for these players, not for this season, but for Eli Drinkwitz and this fan base. I think this weekend's pretty big.
I wouldn't say it feels like he's going necessarily back to like the first 3 years when he's going
No,
500. I don't think it's that far of a drop, but it feels like going up a roller coaster. Then when you get to the top, and then all of a sudden it goes back, it starts
yeah,
going down the other way, and you're kind of confused by it. So, yeah, I mean, if you finish this season strong, you can get to 9 wins, you can make a tangible argument for, well, this didn't happen, and plus, I mean, we faced A&M, that second team out of the playoff as of today. Obviously, we faced Alabama. That's another playoff team. Like you can kind of make some rounds about it. You could say South Carolina's a giant killer, or at least they play hard versus the Giants or something like that. So they've definitely got to win this game.
yeah, and I had a good point all drawn up. I honestly completely forgot what it was. I've lost my train of thought a little bit distracted, I guess. But it just feels like here's what I was going to say. I've said this a lot over 20 years or whatever. The difference between being a fan or being a coach or whatever at a place like Missouri and at a place like Georgia, Ohio State, I'd throw Oklahoma in there. Like those places can have down years, right? They can even hire the wrong coach and have a down 4 or 5 year period. But it is so much easier to bounce back there. Like Missouri came into this year with the national media and people going, well, they got to prove to me that last year was real. And now that they kind of aren't proving that, the national opinion of Missouri will be, see, they were never like they had one nice year, but that was fraudulent. We're not going to. You can put them back in the group of teams we don't talk about. Where if you are Notre Dame, if you are Texas, if you are Oklahoma, like you can have 6 straight down years.
You're always going to
You're
have
still talked about going into that season, and all it takes is 1 year to get back, right? Like Oklahoma's down. Oklahoma, if they lose this game on Saturday, is going to miss a bowl game, and there will be some. Oh, is Oklahoma ready for the SEC? Can Brent Venables do it? Whatever. But I promise you, Oklahoma is going to be ranked in the top 25 to start next year. And if Oklahoma comes back and goes 9-3 or 10-2 next year, everybody's going to say, see, Oklahoma's back, baby. That's the difference between being one of the chosen ones and one of the outsiders.
I don't disagree with you. And like, I already felt like it was going to be hard for this team, even if they went to the playoff. If Missouri went to the playoff, you're still losing your foundation. We talked about this before a few weeks ago. You're losing Brady Cook. You're losing Luther Burden, like one of your best recruits ever. You're starting over, and sure you would have had the momentum of the playoff, but now since that seems like it's not something that's going to happen, like that reality still exists that you're losing your foundation and you kind of got to start over. And now people are. It's not the same type of energy they had a few months ago. I don't think it's completely gone, but it's not the okay, we've got to keep an eye on Missouri type of thing.
Yeah, it all just really shows like how hard it is to build a program at a place that traditionally hasn't kind of been in that conversation. By the Bible says this is really frustrating. If we were blown out by OU, what will it mean for? Look, you
Nothing.
can't get blown out. You cannot get blown. I mean, no, like he's not getting fired or anything, but you get blown out in this game, and man, the public sentiment is not going to be pretty come Sunday morning if that happens.
Okay. I guess you mean for this season, and okay.
Yeah, like no, he's not getting fired or anything.
Oh, that's how I read it. Like, oh yeah, well, yeah, nothing to do with his job security, but yeah, if you lose this game and considering everything else that happened for the rest of the season, yeah, again, like kind of what you said, what can you kind of sell to people to keep them interested for the rest of the year? Like, and what's the last game? The last game is at home versus Arkansas. To be honest, you're probably going to split the road games at South Carolina and Mississippi State. So you're talking about being 8-4. Was that what that would be? No. Yeah.
It'd be the difference between 7-5 and 8-4.
Exactly. No one's trying to hear that considering what everybody started with, basically, which is 10-2 at the bare minimum, looking at the playoff.
Yeah, I think what it means is, next year is I don't know what it means big picture. I mean, college football now is such a year-to-year thing. Like it means people are down on him right now, and then he's got to go see what he can do in the portal and come back and be better next year. I think is that, but a blowout would, because I think that's why I don't think if you had told Missouri fans at the beginning of the season you're going to be 6-2 with Oklahoma coming to town, I think most of them would have said like, I hope we're a little better, but yeah, I get it. That makes sense. It's what the two are, man. And if you get blown out in this one. Like realistically, look, I get Vandy is a better team than Oklahoma, but nobody looks at it that way,
right?
And so if you get blown out here, they're going to go, cool. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we said basically they had a 4-game season, right? We said it was A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma, and probably at South Carolina was that 4th game. Well, You get blown out here, you've just gone 0-3 in your 4-game season, and all you've really done is win the games that everybody gave you before the season anyway, and that's not a good place to be.
Yeah, that 9 I'm just thinking about that non-conference schedule, like, those loaded wins, like, I just wanna know how much benefit do you really get when you have, like, 3 of those type of games on the schedule where it's just like because again, it's
Yeah.
the pick your poison type of schedule. You can get the more favorable schedule where you just really need to win game here, game there, but and then everything else is kind of easy for you. Or you can get the kind of, I guess, the Georgia schedule where I mean you're going to be scratching and clawing every game, but you win one. Sometimes it could be just one big game and do handle your business versus everybody else, and people give you the benefit of the doubt if you lose 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably depends kind of on the team you have. Mark Fenton
Right.
says Drink is not going anywhere, but his BS has to be called out. I don't really know what that means. I mean, like, yeah, he's having a down year because it happens. I think Eli would tell you he probably hadn't done a great job, and there's things he would like to do different, but I don't really know what his BS is unless we're referring back to, kind of calling out the fan base at the beginning of the year, which I get why that hurts people's feelings. And if you do that, like, look, this is what we've said about Drink about a million different things, right? Talk all you want, but when
Back it up.
when you don't back it up, it comes back at you.
Yeah.
But I
Maybe
don't know what Drink's BS is. I honestly, Mark, if you want to tell us in the chat what you mean, cool. But I don't know what it is.
even if this team goes 8-4 and you fall on 11-2 season with an 8-4, possibly 9-4 season, like that, I mean, you should just be happy that I don't want to say just be happy because it shouldn't be like that.
Because
But
everybody wanted more. Yeah.
yeah, but you started with 3 straight 500 seasons, right? Like you could still be floating that line.
Right. And I think so. This is kind of a good place probably to finish. I think you just hit on what the importance of these last 3 games is. If you can, or last 4 games, if you can finish, let's say if you can finish 3-1, right? Like, yeah, you want to finish 4-0, but let's say you can finish 3-1, get yourself to 9-3. You've won 20 games in 2 years, make a bowl game, make 21. Like, that's still a pretty good sellout on the recruiting trail, right? That's still
Yeah.
like you can still sell that as momentum. And I would guess, look, I haven't looked at it, but if you can get to 21 wins over 2 years or 20 wins over 2 years, I bet there aren't more than about 10 teams that can say that in college football.
That's still pretty good. You said if they go 9-3 going into the bowl
Nine
game.
and three. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say it necessarily helps because the more wins you have, that's gonna help, and winning is gonna make everybody want to come. But I think if you go 9-3, well, your pitch can kind of be changed to like, we went 9-3 this year. It's kind of a down year, but you 4-star, 5-star, you can get us over the hump. Whether they're gonna play or
Right.
not, I don't know, but you can still sell that. But when it starts to go from playoff team to 7-5, there's
Right.
a big gap in what you can sell there and what the picture looks like going forward.
And it's really about kind of the national media today and the narrative that's out there too. But because like these recruits, dude, these recruits aren't breaking down schedules like we are and looking at it and like, well, yeah, I know they're 9-3, but like, their game control wasn't very good and their strength, they don't pay attention to any of that. If you
Yeah.
go out, tell them you had 21 wins in 2 years and you're one of 9 teams or whatever that can do that, it's a pretty good sell. It looks like a pretty good class. Matt Zollers is going to be here this weekend. There's going to be some other guys this weekend. We're working on some stuff for the chamber. We want to get it confirmed, but like should be a pretty good visit weekend. And okay, Henry's got a question. If you guys got questions, we got a few minutes. If you want to get some last questions into, this might be a little bit shorter show just because we did basketball last night. There's a bye week. Not sure how. And I think if we're being honest, crowd's a little light. I think Jarod, I don't know. I think people are focused on some other things this evening.
They're
And
rewatching the CFP show.
yeah, I think people got some things on their mind. There was a good rerun of The Office on right before I came up, finishing up season 6 of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So, but Henry says, had this point brought to me by someone. Is it fair to criticize Drinkwitz for backing Brady when he was looking for a lot of replacements before last season began? I mean, we've talked about this. Like, yeah, Brady surprised everybody, and that included his head football coach.
I think
That,
your opinion can change. And like,
yeah,
if someone starts working harder and he's doing better for you, yeah, what is he supposed to do? Continue to be like, I gotta find something. I mean, he was doing what he needed to do, and I can see why Drink would step behind it. I can, in some ways, though, see someone being like, now you're trying to stand up for this guy, even though you was, but things change all the time.
right. That's the problem, right? We're allowed to change our minds. Like, I haven't once heard Eli Drinkwood say, you know, piss off everybody. I always knew he was going to be this good, that good. Eli never said that. He didn't know. He hasn't tried to pretend that he knew he had an 11-win quarterback that was going to have Brady's 2023 season on his roster. He he tried to make his team better. He couldn't get somebody to make it better, and then
Brady
Brady
stepped
showed
up.
up, worked his ass off, and had a good season. Like you said, if that kid did that and I was his coach, I would be a fan of that too.
Yes. I mean, like sometimes like you can coach someone and you can tell someone everything they need to do, but sometimes it's just something that happens for them that clicks. Like whether
Right.
that's you or something else. And so yeah, why would he continue to not why would he not want to lift him up and kind of have his back?
Right. It's like anything else. I mean, if I get 20 people that I bump into that say, "Man, you know what? I wasn't sure about your site, but like I like what Jarod does, I like what Drew does, I like what Sean does, so I signed up." Well, yeah, thank you guys. I like that. Well, I mean, what of course you like people that do good work for you. Like I
Right.
and I mean, I think part of that attitude comes a little bit from I think people are a little tired of hearing Drink lay on the guilt that the fans have ripped Brady, but also at the same time, like I read a lot of after that Auburn game, I read a lot of I'm never going to say a bad word about Brady Cook again. And then a week later, literally, it was man, this kid sucks and our offense sucks. And like I get it, it's fans, but I think you just have to recognize your own. If you're going to do that, like understand that his coach is going to stand up there and defend it, and that's okay too. It's okay for you to say what you want, but it's also okay for him to say what he wants.
He needs to defend his quarterback regardless, especially concerning this quarterback is like a feared locker room
Especially
leader.
considering with what's behind him.
Yeah, like locker room leader and all the other stuff, outside of football that goes with that. He has to.
Yeah, and I'll say that I said it after the Auburn game. Like, it, I don't think you can fake like the emotion and the way Drinks talked about Brady. Like, I think he really
Right.
believes that. Now, did he believe it 2 years ago? Probably
Mm,
not, because Brady wasn't all that good 2 years ago. I didn't believe it either. But that's okay, man. Something happened and he changed his mind. Like, I would be much angrier if you were dealing with a guy who said, "Well, this is what I thought 2 years ago, and so that's just what I'm going to think for the rest of my life."
Well, even me, what I've learned from this job is some people will see what you did like your first time, and
Mhm.
that is what you're judged off of,
That's what you are forever.
and so it's not fair, but it is what it is. And so, yeah, I think Drink has the right to be the one who's evaluating someone's development from basically from day one till whenever and say, I've seen improvement. And here's why I'm vouching for this person.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Kind of last point here. Mark Fenton says we know nothing about the freshman QB or Horn. It would be nice to do a story on those guys so we know. Look, man, those are bowl practice stories. Those are spring football stories. We'll do it, but there's a season to play. And I get that fans, once the playoffs off the table, fans are this season's done. All I want to talk about is the future. The team's not focused on that. We got to cover what's going on, guys. We're not going to talk to Sam Horn or Aiden Glover right now. Like, I mean, we can't even talk to Brady Cook or Drew Pine right now, much less Sam Horn or Aiden Glover. So those will all be done, but those are off-season stories, and we'll get to that stuff when the time comes.
And also, I know fans don't think about this. When you're going through a stretch like Missouri is, whether it's you've lost a certain game or you're really banged up injury wise, you don't just get to request people and they're like, "Oh, sure, we'll give it to you." Like you kind of got to give and take and work with what you have, and you kind of got to know, like I can ask for anybody, but it's not the time or place for they're going to give us who they want to give us considering circumstances or whatever.
For sure. All right. Well, guys, like I said, a little bit shorter. I know, Jake Peralta was getting into a situation, so I got to go check out some Brooklyn Nine-Nine tonight and see what's on TV. But appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that. We'll have plenty of stuff. Jarod's got a football notebook tomorrow, mailbag tomorrow. We're going to preview this OU game, and basketball's back on the court Friday. So crossover season, a lot of stuff going on. Big visit weekend. Thanks for hanging out. Share it on social media, say good things, and of course, get in touch with my guy, James Carlton in Webster Groves, Missouri, 314-961-4800. CarltonInsurance.net is the website. If you tell James you heard about us on Power Mizzou and you get a quote from him for your insurance, he is going to make an NIL donation to the University of Missouri, maybe help out your football team, and look, best of all, probably help you out and save you a little bit of money on your insurance. So appreciate you all, guys, you all hanging out, and we will talk to you next time here on State of the Tigers and PowerMizzou.com.